Can I play for food? They laughed at the homeless girl, not knowing she's a piano prodigy. They laughed before she even touched the key. A frail little girl, her clothes torn, her tiny hands trembling from hunger, dared to whisper for words that silenced the street. Can I play for food? The cafe crowd chuckled. Some sneered. Others shook their heads in pity. To them, she was just another homeless kid begging for attention. But the moment her fingers brushed the piano, the laughter froze in their throat. Notes poured out like fire and rain, weaving a story of pain, hope, and genius. No one knew this starving child was about to change everything. The late afternoon sun dipped behind the brick buildings of downtown Atlanta, casting long shadows over cracked sidewalks and weary storefronts. People bustled past. Men in business suits clutching leather briefcases, women in heels balancing iced coffee, teenagers laughing too loudly as they shared TikTok videos. The city pulsed with energy, wealth, and routine. But against the rhythm of everyday life sat a girl who did not belong. She was small, no older than 12. Her skin was dark and flawless beneath the dirt smudges, her eyes wide and haunting, carrying the weight of stories no child should know. Her name was Amara, though no one in the city cared enough to ask. She sat cross-legged on the sidewalk, a torn backpack beside her, clutching a cardboard sign with shaky handwriting. Hungry, please help. The passers-by barely noticed her. Some stepped around her. Others wrinkled their noses. A man tossed a nickel into her lap without even looking. Amara whispered, "Thank you," but he was already gone. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. Across the street stood a cafe that was different from the fast food chains nearby. It was stylish, with outdoor seating, twinkling lights strung across the patio, and a glossy grand piano set near the corner. A man in a vest played smooth jazz, filling the air with elegant notes. Amara's eyes locked on that piano. She hadn't touched one in years, not since the days before everything collapsed, before her mother got sick, before bills piled up, before eviction notices came. Back then, her mother used to whisper, "Your hands were made for the piano, baby girl. Don't ever stop playing." But she had stopped. Survival left no room for music. Her stomach twisted again. The cafe smelled of fresh bread and roasted chicken, aromas so rich they hurt. Amara's lips trembled. She wasn't bold. She wasn't reckless. But hunger has a way of pushing a soul to the edge. She pulled herself up, walked toward the cafe, and stood at the gate where laughter and silverware clinking filled the air. Dozens of eyes turned toward her. A woman in pearls raised her brow. Is she lost? A man in a designer suit scoffed. Look. Another one begging. Amara's throat was dry. Her hands shook as she clutched the wooden gate. But she remembered her mother's word. When the world tries to silence you, let the music speak. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. "See, can I play for food?" The cafe went silent for a beat. Then laughter erupted. "She wants to play?" A teenager snickered. "Phone already recording." "Sweetheart, this is an open mic night," another said. "What can she possibly know about music?" sneered a man sipping wine. The pianist at the grand piano smirked and rose from his bench. He gave a mock bow, gesturing dramatically. "By all means, Prodigy," he said, dripping with sarcasm. "The stage is yours." A waiter whispered to the manager, who shrugged, smirking. It might be entertaining, he thought. Amara's cheeks burned. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt, but hunger drowned out her fear. She shuffled toward the piano, each step feeling heavier than the last. The polished black surface of the grand piano gleamed like a mirror. Amara sat down, her bare feet barely reaching the pedal. Her fingers hovered over the keys, thin, callous from weeks of surviving on the streets. The crowd leaned in, waiting for the disaster. A cruel voice called out, "Don't break it, sweetheart." But when her hands descended, everything changed. The first notes were soft, trembling, but within seconds her fingers flew with precision, weaving together a melody so haunting it pierced the air like glass. It was not childish fumbling, not random banging. It was music that carried the weight of sorrow and hope, rising and falling like waves. Gasps replaced laughter. Phone shot up, recording. Her left hand thundered deep chords, steady and powerful. Her right hand soared into arpeggios so light and quick they sounded like wings. The melody grew, painting pictures of nights spent cold and days spent hungry, yet refusing to surrender. The cafe froze. Even waiters stood still, trays in hand. And then tears. An elderly woman at the front table clutched her chest. "My God, this girl," she whispered. The businessman who mocked her earlier put down his wine glass, eyes wide. The teenagers who laughed now stared, mouths open, phones recording every second. Even the pianist who had mocked her took a step forward, disbelief on his face. He recognized the piece. It was Chopin, but altered, transformed with soul so raw it felt like something entirely new. Amara lost herself in the music. She closed her eyes, letting her fingers speak where words had failed her. Each note said what she could not. "I'm hungry, I'm tired, but I'm still here. I'm still worthy." When the final chord rang out, the cafe erupted into stunned silence. For a heartbeat, No one moved. Then, applause. Thunderous, overwhelming applause. The cafe manager hurried forward, stunned. Little girl, where did you learn that? Amara lowered her head. My mama taught me before she got sick. She said music could feed the soul. But right now, I just needed to feed my stomach. Her honesty cut through every person like a blade. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, guilt in their eyes. The manager cleared his throat. You can eat here, whatever you want. A waiter rushed a plate of chicken, bread, and soup. Amara's eyes watered as she whispered, thank you. But while she ate, the cafe buzzed with whispers. Who is she? Where did she come from? She's incredible. Videos of her performance had already hit social media. Comments flooded in. She's a genius. Someone find this girl. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Amara didn't know it yet, but her life had just shifted forever. That night, Amara found a quiet alley to sleep, her stomach finally full for the first time in days. She curled against her backpack, but for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Her mama's words echoed again. Your hands were made for piano, she whispered to the stars. Mama, I played today and they listened. But far across the city, powerful people were already watching her video, making calls and planning to find her because they knew what the cafe crowd had just discovered. This wasn't just a homeless girl. This was a prodigy. By morning, the city was buzzing. The video of the homeless piano girl had exploded across social media. It had millions of views overnight. News anchors debated her story on morning shows. Who is this girl? Is she really homeless? That level of talent is once in a generation. Clips showed Amara's small hands flying over keys, her eyes closed, tears on her cheeks. Headlines screamed, homeless child stuns cafe with piano performance. Little girl, big talent, America's next prodigy. But while the world marveled, Amara knew nothing of it. She woke on the cold concrete of her alley, unaware her life was changing. All she felt was the ache in her bones from sleeping on stone. She hugged her backpack, the only thing she owned. Inside was a crumpled photograph of her and her mother, back when life had been normal. Newspaper reporters arrived. That afternoon, Amara returned to the cafe. She hoped maybe they'd let her play again, maybe give her another meal, but as she approached, she froze. The cafe patio was swarmed with reporters, cameras flashing, microphones stretched forward like spears. And in the center of it all was the cafe manager, flustered and sweating, answering questions. She came out of nowhere, he stammered. Just sat down and played like an angel. None of us had ever seen anything like it. The crowd gasped as Amara stumbled forward. Cameras swung toward her. There she is, someone shouted. The prodigy. She tried to shrink back, but hands reached out, reporters shouting. Sweetheart, what's your name? Where do you live? Do you know you're famous? Amara's chest tightened. This was too much, too loud, too bright. She turned to run and collided with a woman. The woman was in her late 30s, dressed simply in jeans and a cardigan, with warm brown eyes that didn't judge or pry. She steadied Amara gently. It's okay, she said softly. My name is Elena Carter. I saw your video. Amara stared up suspicious. Everyone else had shouted, laughed, or pointed cameras. This woman spoke like a whisper in a storm. Elena crouched to her level. You're hungry, aren't you? She said. Come with me. No cameras, just food. Amara hesitated. Her stomach answered for her. Minutes later, she was sitting at a quiet diner booth, devouring pancakes, while Elena watched with misty eyes. You're special, Elena said. Amara froze. No, I'm not. I'm just hungry. Elena shook her head. I'm a music teacher. I've been around talent my whole life. What you did last night. Amara, you're not just good. You're extraordinary. Tears pricked Amara's eyes. My mama said that too her voice cracked before she got sick. Elena reached across the table, holding her small hand. What if I told you I could help? Lessons, a safe place to stay, food in your stomach, and a piano that's yours to play whenever you want. Amara blinked, but why would you help me? Elena smiled. Because when I heard you play, I realized the world doesn't just need to hear your music. I need to hear it too. Weeks passed. Amara moved in with Elena, who had turned her guest room into a little sanctuary. Clean clothes, warm meals, and most importantly, a piano. At first, Amara played shyly, worried it was too much, that it would all be taken away. But Elena never judged. She encouraged. She pushed. She listened for hours as Amara practiced. The girl absorbed everything like a sponge. Her natural ability was staggering. What others studied for years, she mastered in days. Elena shook her head in disbelief each night. She's not just talented, she whispered to her husband one evening. She's chosen. Word spread quickly. An invitation arrived for Amara to perform at a charity gala downtown, filled with the city's wealthiest and most influential people. The night of the event, Amara stood backstage in a borrowed dress, hands trembling. Elena knelt beside her. They laughed at you once, she said. Tonight, they'll never laugh again. Play from your heart. That's all you need. Amara stepped into the spotlight. The grand piano gleamed. The crowd of hundreds fell silent. She sat, closed her eyes, and began to to play. This time, it wasn't desperation. It wasn't hunger. It was power, grace, and love. The music soared, filling the vast hall with something no one could name. Some called it genius. Some called it divine. By the time she finished, the audience was on its feet, thunderous applause echoing through the hall. People wept openly. The mayor himself rose and shouted, "Bravo!" The performance hit headlines around the world. From streets to spotlight, the rise of Amara, the piano prodigy. Homeless girl captures the world with music. Offers poured in scholarships, concert invitations, interviews. But Elena shielded her, ensuring Amara's childhood wasn't consumed by fame. One day, Amara was invited to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York. The thought made her knees weak, but Elena just squeezed her shoulder. "You were born for this." The night before the big performance, Amara sat by her window, staring at the stars. She pulled out the crumpled photo of her and her mother. "I did it, Mama," she whispered. They finally listened. Tears slid down her cheek. But this time, they weren't from hunger or loneliness. They were from gratitude and the bittersweet ache of wishing her mother could see her now. The hall was filled with thousands, every seat taken, every eye fixed on the little girl at the piano. Amara walked onto the stage, dressed in white, her head held high. She sat, placed her hands on the keys, and looked out over the sea of faces. "I want to dedicate this to my mama," she said softly into the microphone. And then she played. What poured out wasn't just music. It was a story of hunger, laughter that mocked, kindness that saved, and a little girl who refused to let the world silence her. The final note rang like a bell. Silence followed, heavy and awed, and then, as if the entire world had been holding its breath, applause that shook the very wall. Amara rose, tears streaming, bowing deeply. Her life had changed forever. Amara went on to study under the greatest teachers, performing on the grandest stages, but she never forgot the sidewalk where she once begged for food. She returned often, playing for those who had nothing, reminding them and herself that music could heal even the deepest wound. And whenever someone asked how it all began, she would smile softly and say, "It started the day I was hungry enough to ask, 'Can I play for food?'" If you like and want more videos like this, subscribe to support the Black talent.